So you're gonna flatten your back, lift your hips just a little bit, and slide your block in the lowest position, right under your pelvis. So you don't want the block under your waist. That would be like your kidney area or your low back. What is the part of the block closest to your head? To be a little below your waistband. And then please take one leg into your chest. It doesn't matter which leg. And then stretch the other leg out on the yoga mat. So if your right knee is in, you're going to stretch out through your left leg and take a couple of full breaths here, really activating, straightening that left leg. Connecting again to breath. Staying present. We'll be here for about 5 more breaths. And then switch sides. So, opposite knee to your chest. One leg stretched out, one leg hugged in. And one of the things that will make this more effective, rather than just lying here and being relaxed over your block, although that's fun, will be to make the leg that's stretched out kind of active. I don't know how much you can see this, but I'm really actively straightening the leg, curling the toes back to the eyes. And that, for one, makes me feel a little bit more stretch, which is not necessarily what we're going for. But it allows my nervous system to ease into this moment, to know that it's purposeful, rather than some passive force, including gravity, doing it. So your body will actually adjust to it quicker. It will get more easeful in those muscles faster. And then please take this leg out as well. So whatever leg is in towards your chest out. Both legs really active. Front hip points up. You can really straighten your knees, curl your toes back towards your eyes. Take a couple more breaths. Maybe even squeeze your bum a little bit here. Squeeze your glutes to open up the front of your hips and draw your lowest part of your abdomen in. And then bend your knees. Float yourself up off the block. Set your block off to the side and separate your feet to be as wide apart from one another as your yoga mat. You're going to let them drop to the right. Knees drop to the right. And keeping your feet nice and wide, knees drop to the left. So I call this one windshield wiping the legs. The tricky part is that for some reason our feet love to get together. Try to keep them apart because we're going for this front part of the thigh, front part of the hip to unwind, unlock the sitting. All the tightness that comes from sitting. The next time your knees go over to the right, take your top hip, which is your left hip, and just kind of press it forward like you're yawning your body. You could even do the arms and everything. Reaching long through that left knee. So you're pressing it forward and reaching long through the left knee. And then back to center. Take it over to the other side. And squeeze your right glutes now to press the pelvis forward. Yawn this side of the body and make your right knee longer. Like you're pushing into something, pushing something away at the front of your mat. Let's do that one more time each side. So as the knees go over to the right, squeeze the left hip, press the left knee long stretch, reach. And back to center, over to the left, and press the right knee long. Stretch and reach. And please come back to center. And walk your feet to just about hip distance apart. We're going to flatten the back and arch, and flatten the back and arch. So just a simple flattening, controlling, getting your whole low back to touch the floor, and then relaxing for a moment. A couple more times. Good. So let's come over onto our bellies. We're gonna grab your blanket. And place it right under the abdomen. So if you just ate lunch or something or brunch and you don't want to have the blanket there, that's totally fine. You don't have to have it there. But if you do have the blanket, make sure it's above the pelvis and below the ribs, more or less, like at the level of the low ribs and at the level of the upper pelvis. You're going to rest your forehead or the side of your head. Bend your knees again and just let your feet go side to side. When you let your feet go side to side, try to make it, you want to keep the pelvis as neutral as you can towards the floor. So what I'm saying is you don't want to be like cranking your pelvis up, even just really like letting it lift up a lot. So try to keep the pelvis down like this. And then hips side to side, feet side to side. So that you get a good rotation in the actual joint of the hip, joints of the hips. We're going to do a similar yawning thing here through the body. So straighten your legs and just bend your left knee. And then lift the left thigh up off the floor. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to lift this leg, the left leg, from its own muscles, as opposed to, I could also push into the right leg to lift it up. So try to keep your right leg soft, lift the left, and then just keep turning until it crosses the body, maybe touches to the floor behind you. But it doesn't matter if it floats in the sky or touches to the floor, just so that you get this nice rotational reach, yawn of the body, so to speak. And you can also reach your left arm in the opposite direction, straighten your left leg, get that full diagonal. And then come back to center, settle yourself down. Keep your pelvis down as you just bend your right knee and lift the right thigh off the floor. And then start to roll and reach and reach and reach. Breathing and yawning through the body a little bit. And come back to center. Make sure the blanket's right under your abdomen. And prop yourself up on your elbows. So again, you want to make sure that your pelvis is touching the floor, your pubic bone is touching the floor. You're going to bend your right knee and a little Pilates-inspired kick of your hip. And then bend your left knee, keeping the pelvis down, a little Pilates-inspired kick towards your left hip. Go ahead and rest your forehead on the floor. And we're going to go back and forth, that same action, right and left, kick, right and left, right and left and right. Good, and then straighten out through your legs. Lift your chest a little bit. Reach your thumbs out in front of you. And float your left leg up and your right arm. Yes, exactly. Lower down, and left arm and right leg. And as you float, reach also, and lower down. Right arm, left leg. And lower, and left arm, right leg, and lower. And then keep your left elbow on the floor. And you don't need the blanket anymore if you don't want to use it. You're gonna bend your right knee. And just windshield wipe that foot back and forth a couple times. Keep the pelvis pressing forward into the floor. And then reach back and see. It doesn't matter if your foot's within easy reach, you can catch your foot. And if not, you can make a little lasso with your strap. A lasso with the strap. A little tricky to get it in there. But you can do that. I'll come around and help. So if you have your foot or you have your foot in the strap, you're going to start to push your foot away from your body. So push your foot into your hands, opening the angle of the knee and pressing the pelvis down. And then as you relax, try to draw it in a little bit closer. We're going to do that about 5 times on the right side. So push your foot a little bit into your hands. That will activate the muscle at the front of the thigh. So squeeze your glutes, press your hips down and pelvis down. And then with each relaxation of the muscle, you might feel that your heel comes a little closer to your hip. So totally release the right leg now. And other side. So if you have your strap there, and you already have the right foot in the strap, you can just tuck your left foot in it. This makes it a little bit easier. And then release the right foot. And one of the ways that you could hold yourself if you have the strap, because these straps are nice and long, is you can kind of hold yourself over the shoulder. Hold the foot over the shoulder. Like that. So, whether you have your hand or your strap, you're going to push your foot. And you can keep your thigh down on the floor, by the way, and just really push, activating the thigh, your kicking muscles. And relax and draw the heel in a little bit more. Push, pressing the foot into. And release. And push. This way, now you can have it over your shoulder like this. Is that more cozy? Yeah. And last one. Push and relax. Settle your forehead down to the floor. You can let go of your strap and just let your foot drop side to side. So as you do this, same instructions that I recommended earlier, keeping your pelvis level, keeping your shoulders level, trying to just move consciously. Not isolating so much, but really letting most of the rotation happen in that one joint of the hip and the socket. Good, come back to center, please. And press up to table pose. And this is another place where if you want to, you can have your blanket under your knees. So, spread your fingers nice and wide. And same thing that we did on the floor, except with bigger motions now. Drop your belly down, pull the heart forward, and exhale, round up to the sky. Drop the belly down, pull the heart forward, and exhale, round up. Let's go back and forth a few more times. So wiggle your knees a little bit closer together and find a neutral spine. So neutral spine means you're not rounded, you're not sagging, you're just in neutral. You're going to stretch your left leg out and just press back, toes curled under, press back to that heel. You can gas pedal a few times. And then lift the leg up to about hip height. Good, and really just lift. Try to lift, draw your belly in, and create lots of length out through the heel, out through the crown of the head. Lower it down. Shimmy your hips a few times, left and right. And then take your right leg behind you and float it up. Bring it up to hip height. Squeeze the leg to the midline. Press out through the crown of the head. So again, drawing in through the abdomen, reaching long, active leg. And lower down. Just shimmy your hips a little side to side. Good. We're going to curl the toes under and sit back so that our hips are on our heels. Good. Shift forward to table. Keep the toes curled under and rise up into a downward facing dog. And I'll keep it pretty short downward facing dog. It might be the first one you've done all day. So just enjoy it. Take any little motions you need to take, bending one knee and then the other. We're going to walk the feet together until they touch one another. Big toes touch. Reach your left leg up, bend your knee, and then point this knee to the ceiling. It's kind of that yawning feeling that I talked about earlier. So in this case, you can actually stack your hips. So instead of just lifting the leg from the back of the leg, you can actually open the hips and really reach. Slowly lower your foot back down. Let's give ourselves a rest in between sides. So knees down to the earth, forehead to the back of the hands. And then reach your arms out in front of you again. Find your way into a relatively short downward facing dog. Keep your toes touching. Rise up. And this time it's going to be the right side. So inhale, lift the right leg. Bend your knee and really yawn. Really open. Pointing the knee up. Your left knee, by the way, the one that's on the floor, that can be a little bent. In fact, sometimes I purposely bend it just to keep the hip tracking, the thigh tracking in the right direction. Full breath, yawning through the body. And then exhale and lower down. So you're going to come all the way onto your forearms, back to the floor. And bend both of your legs. So keep yourself propped up on your right elbow. Reach back and catch your left leg, your left hand. And then push. You can float your right leg off the floor. You can walk your left arm out and reach, and I'll come assist. We're going to be here for about 3 breaths. Slowly lower down. I'll take it to the other side. So just Exactly. So if you've got the strap there, you can just tuck the foot in, hopefully through the other side. So where you're going to be propped on your left, catch hold of your right, push the right foot with the right hand, and really reach other side. So about 5 breaths. This is a half bow shape, half Dhanurasana, Ardha Dhanurasana. And slowly lower down. So if you think about what we do when we sit all day, these guys come into a fold for a lot of the time, whether you drive or cycle like I do to get around, or you sit for work, or you sit on your couch to watch your favorite shows. So you're going to be in a folded position. And what that means is that anything we do to activate the glutes and the hamstrings, to some extent the low back, although I would say that like the muscles of the back of the leg are really, really important. It will help to just unwind like all that tightening at the front of the head. But it's not easy. Yeah, it's like kind of hard. So there's another way we can do it. Come onto your backs. Bring your feet towards the front of your yoga mat. And have your block handy again. So the first way we're going to use the block is block between the thighs. And I'd like for you to squeeze the block, flatten your back like we did earlier, so putting all the pieces together. Turn your toes up. You might have to wiggle your feet a little further away from you, but turn your toes up. And then flatten, tailbone rises, lift up into a low bridge. And in this low bridge, you should feel a little bit less quad work than you might normally feel in a bridge, and a little more glutes and hamstrings. There's not very much weight. There's no weight in my head or neck that is higher than when my hips were down. So the weight is in the shoulder blades, squeezing the block, activating the backside of the legs. As you exhale, lower down. And then flatten your back. Take the block out of the way this time. This time, put the block under your feet. You might have to use your feet to organize it here. So you're going to place the heels on the block. Squeeze in, imaginary midline, flatten, and then rise up. As you rise up, again, working the muscles at the backs of the legs, squeezing in, shoulders to knees. Let the head be heavy. And then slowly lower down. Walk the block in just a little bit closer. Toes turn up, flatten your back. And again, rise up. Try to make the thighs parallel to one another. And again, try not to put any pressure on the head or the neck, so it's landing on the top of the upper back. And then slowly lower down. And finally, take the block again. Float yourself up. Place the block right under the pelvis, like we did earlier in the beginning of class. Stretch your left leg long, and this time, grab behind the right leg and reach it towards the sky. Like it's totally fine if your knee is very, very bent here. But for those of you who can, push the leg into the hand and straighten it. And straighten this one that's out on the floor. If you're noticing a big arc in your low back, tuck everything in, draw it back. And then draw the knee in, this time towards your armpit. So you get a little bit deeper, a little bit broader stretch along the hip that's still on the floor. And then lower down. Let both knees be bent for a moment. And you can slap your feet to the floor a couple times. And then draw your left knee in, straighten your right leg out, catch behind the left thigh. And really just, idea is that I'm pushing this leg into my hands. So even if your knee is bent, you're pushing it forward. Right leg is reaching, active through the right leg. And then draw this knee in towards your left elbow, left knee in. Try to keep the right leg as straight as it was a moment ago. And then stretch all legs long, reaching through the arms, pulling in through the belly. This is truly like one of my favorite ways to unwind after a day of sitting. One of my top 10 poses, a supported bridge. So when you set your feet right back down, knees bent, let's just take the bridge to a higher level. So I've just flipped my block to the middle position. The tall position doesn't work really well for this. The middle position usually is okay. And then straighten your blocks out again. You might have to pull or traction your spine upwards a little so you don't go into a big back bend. Because the idea is less of a back bend and more of a hip opener. Or just get into the front of the hips. Activate through your legs. Feel the thighs squeeze in. And then walk your feet right back in. Rise up. And then roll to one side and come up to a sitting position. So, this doesn't work for everybody. Wait for the silence to go back. So I know this position doesn't work for everybody because if it bothers your knees or your ankles, it's not going to feel really good. So I want to offer a couple of alternatives. So we can take the blanket. This is for anybody with some ankle issues. And you can just roll a little backside of the blanket like that so that your ankle doesn't have to go into such an end range position there. And then for the hips, you can take your block. You can take one block. You can take it in the medium position. You can even take it in the tall position because you're not going to fall from here if you need it. And if you're comfortable just sitting in between the heels, then go ahead and do that. So I'm going to talk to those who are up on the block first. So if you're up on the block, you bring your hands to your hips, squeeze your shoulders back, and lift your chest. Hug the heels into the block. And then maybe start to walk your hands to your feet, maybe to the ground behind. So if this feels uncomfortable for anybody, or if you feel like your block's too high, you can do the same thing with the second block. Instead of walking down to the floor, walk your hands to the second block. I'm going to come around and make sure everybody's good. If you don't have a block, you can also just walk back. Now the secret here is that your knees love to splay out, so you got to kind of hug them in and really keep a little bit of integrity in the shape. So keep hugging the knees in towards one another. If you're sitting on your heels, You can actually just keep the hips down and walk back. Keep walking back. If you have the block there, keep pushing it back a little more. If your knees start to lift up, push them down. Let's walk back in for a moment and intentionally do the very beginning of camel pose. So it's going to look a little funny. It's going to look not like camel pose. Just lift, get a little air under your block or between your hips and your heels. And we'll do that 2 more times. Lift and lower and lift and lower. So some of you will be really comfortable staying right here, just sort of pressing your knees forward as if you have something to push them into. And then some of you might want to come down onto your elbows, right behind you. So squeeze the knees in, come down onto the elbows, hug the thighs together. Keep yourself settled on the block. If you come down onto the elbows and you're not too keen there, you can always walk yourself right back up. Good, and then please straighten your arms and walk yourself in. And all the way forward. If you have the block underneath, you can take it out and just take a child's pose, but with your knees nice and wide from one another. And walk the hands back, rise up. Grab a hold of the block again. And I'm going to take it so that block is between your feet. And left foot is out in front of you. So have your other block handy. You can lean back into this block now. Just pressing your pelvis a little bit forward, wiggling your right knee a little bit forward. Or you can have your hands on the floor if you don't have that second block. And just start to walk backwards. So now we're isolating the opening in the front of the right knee. Just push the knee forward, squeeze the heel in, lift the chest. And if you feel comfortable here, with or without the block, you could perhaps lower down onto the forearms. Maybe straighten out through your left leg. And then push up, rise back up, and we'll switch sides. So I'm using a block here. If you don't need to use a block, you don't have to. But I think that this is probably pretty intense for most of us. Like even though we're going slowly, we're going methodically through it, I would be surprised if this was just a position anyone could sleep in or rest in or read a novel in. So just have that awareness and give yourself the support you need. So I'm giving myself a little block here because it feels just a bit nicer to my knee. You're going to wiggle your hips forward to the front of the block and walk your hands back. And again, you can just be here, and most of you are going to be feeling a pretty massive stretch on the front of that left leg, right? So turning it around, front of that left leg. Just keep the knee down to the ground. And then if you want to, you can walk back even further down to your forearms. Maybe let the head hang. Keep the left leg down, maybe optionally stretch out the right leg. We'll be here for 2 more breaths. Inhale, exhale, and then inhale, exhale, come back up. Good. Shift all the way to the side. And take your blanket. Just fold it back into the position that it was in before when it was under your abdomen. Keep all of your props off to the side. You don't need them at this moment. And then lie down on your back again. So the blanket, as you bridge up, it's going to slide right under the lowest part of the ribs. And you're going to take the bottom of the blanket and just give it a little fold under, right under your pelvis, so that you're in a sloping bridge for a few moments. Open your arms out to the sides, widen the space between your feet, and just roll to the side. You might roll off the blanket a little bit, right and left. So the same windshield wiping we did in the beginning, but now maybe with your feet even a little bit wider apart. Really stretching out, really yawning out through the body. And then when you're ready, stretching out your legs here, a little bridge up, like you're ironing your gluteal muscles down your legs. Settle your palms in your belly, stretch out. You might still feel just a really gentle release at the front of your hip. That's the aim of this. If you want, for Shavasana, you can also make a loop with your strap around your legs. I'll show you what that looks like. These straps are so long. So you can loop the strap around the legs in order to keep them from rotating outward, externally rotating. Activate through the legs, turn your palms up, and then really settle in. So we just have a few moments for Shavasana. If you're more comfortable without any props in Shavasana, that's totally fine with me. You can get rid of the blanket, you can get rid of the strap. These are just options to continue to support the opening that we created in class. Without any judgment, just notice where your mind has traveled. And return your awareness back to your breath, your inhale and your exhale. Slowly start to stretch, reach, yawn through the body. When you're ready, bend your knees. Put your knees up into your chest. Unwind, take your strap off your loop if you have it around you. And just roll over to one side. Keep your head heavy. And very slowly press up to a comfortable seated position. Take a full breath in. A big sigh out. Settle your palms together over your heart. We'll close our practice with one resounding Om. Please join me. Full breath. Namaste.